The Battle of Beller. As Captain Hayes stood in Beller's command center, his eyes scanning the flickering holographic maps, the air was thick with tension. The projections showed the overwhelming scale of the approaching DRX forces. He adjusted his battered cap, leaning against the table's edge. Despite the hushed doubts echoing around him, his face was etched with quiet determination. Elena Torres broke the silence. "They'll breach the perimeter in 2 hours," she stated firmly. To his left, the fiery colonist stood, arms crossed, eyes fixed on the display. "Those fancy plasma rifles won't even scratch their shields, am I right?" he muttered. The room fell silent. Then Hayes spoke, his voice slicing through the unease like a blade. "Weapons don't work against energy dampeners, we've seen it firsthand in our tests." Chax, the wiry-legged alien engineer, shuffled forward nervously. His mandibles clicked as he tried to speak. "Captain Hayes, I still don't see any proof that I have anything that could help." Hayes cut him off with a grunt. He dropped a heavy metal case onto the table, the thud drawing every eye. With a slow flick, he opened it, revealing polished metal. Torres leaned closer, frowning. "Disassembled parts, that's your solution." Hayes smiled. "It's a Gatling gun, kinetic projectiles, no energy signatures, fires thousands of rounds per minute using a mechanical system." A few conquered officers chuckled. "You expect us to fight off DRX with that museum piece? That's like sending bugs at a battleship." Hayes didn't flinch. "They've adapted to plasma, but not to this. Their dampeners are useless against good old-fashioned bullets." "You're betting our lives on a relic," Torres murmured. Hayes shrugged. "Humans evolved by making do, winning with less. The question isn't whether it'll work, it's whether you've got the guts to try." Silence, then Rex, arms crossed, stepped forward. "All right, someone's got to prove the cowards wrong." Hayes gave him a nod of respect. "I'll need help assembling it and volunteers, the kind who aren't afraid to fight dirty." Hours later, on the edge of the colony, the Gatling gun gleamed atop a hastily built turret. Hayes ran his fingers along its cold, deadly frame. "What's the plan?" Torres asked, approaching with a crate of ammo. "We pull them into a choke point, then we unleash hell," Hayes replied. "And if it doesn't work?" He paused, jaw tightening, "then we go down swinging." The sound of marching boots echoed through the hills. DRX soldiers crested the ridge, tight formations, shimmering shields, weapons humming. Hayes barked orders. Colonists scrambled to position, clutching makeshift gear, hearts pounding with fear and defiance. Torres, calm and steady, loaded the Gatling. "Let's see if your antique can hold its ground." The first wave of DRX charged forward, shrugging off plasma fire like rain. Hayes placed a hand on Torres' shoulder. "Wait, now." The Gatling gun exploded into life, spinning barrels unleashed a storm of metal. The deafening roar drowned out enemy fire as bullets tore through the DRX shields like paper. The front line crumbled. Chaos. Commanders barked panicked orders, their frequency-shifting shields couldn't keep up. It was too late, bodies fell, shields shattered. The DRX formation dissolved into disarray under the relentless assault. Smoke curled in the aftermath. The battlefield was quiet saved for the crackling of spent ammo and the clink of brass on metal. Hayes stepped forward through the debris. Torres stood still, gripping the gun's handles, her expression caught between shock and triumph. She laughed breathlessly. "Remind me never to doubt you again." Chax, the alien engineer, clicked his mandibles, eyes wide. "Captain Hayes, I admit I was wrong. This is madness, but it works." Hayes nodded. "Sometimes madness is exactly what we need. DRX thrives on predictability, so we gave them chaos." Then a distant rumble from the horizon. A towering siege walker appeared, bristling with weapons, its legs thundering across the terrain. Torres exhaled sharply. "You've got to be kidding me." Hayes smiled grimly. "Good thing I've got a few more tricks up my sleeve." Back at the command tent, the defenders rallied. Miners, farmers, and conquered recruits worked in silence. Trenches carved into the rocky earth, crates of ammunition stacked high. At the center, Gatling guns, their last hope. Hayes pored over hand-drawn maps, slamming a fist onto the table. "They think we'll respond the same way again. They're wrong." Chax leaned in. "Walker shields adapt. Kinetic won't hold forever." "Exactly," Hayes replied. "So we don't aim for the shield, we take out the legs." He marked an X on the map. Torres scoffed, "You humans and your gambles." "If you know how to count cards, it's not a gamble," Hayes smirked. Suddenly, a runner burst in. "Captain, DRX advance units 2 clicks out, moving fast." Hayes stood, rifle in hand. "Let them come." The colony erupted into motion. Defenders scrambled to trenches lined with scrap metal, planks, even old hull plates. The air buzzed with heat, tension, and desperation. This time, the DRX formation was tighter, sharper, aimed straight for the colony's heart. The The siege walker stepped into view, its cannon rotated into firing position. Hayes, watching from a trench, clenched his fists. Hold steady. The first blast sent shock waves through the walls, but Hayes didn't flinch. DRX infantry closed in, firing in perfect sync, shields glowing green. Hayes raised his hand. Now. The Gatling gun screamed again, shredding through the front lines. Sparks and armor flew. DRX shields cracked and collapsed. "They're breaking," Tors shouted. "Keep firing." The walker adjusted, turning toward the turret, its cannon charged. "Move," Hayes roared. An energy beam lanced through where Tors had stood just seconds before. The explosion shook the trench, dirt flew, but the Gatling gun held. Chax's voice came through, trembling. The walkers adjusting shields, now resisting kinetics. "Then we improvise," Hayes snarled. He turned to the diversion team. "Take out its legs." They hesitated, then, galvanized by his command, they surged forward, armed with explosives and rocket launchers. The walker fired blindly, its cannons swiveling too slow. The team weaved through the trenches, ducking debris, planting charges. Tors gritted her teeth and kept firing. Hayes grinned. "Let's see how you like a punch to the knees, you metal monstrosity." "This thing isn't surviving another batch." Hayes straightened and turned to Chax. "What's the current state of the changes made to the weapon?" "Admirable," someone muttered, "but extended use has led to serious issues with its durability. There were no replacement parts for the barrel assembly, especially not under stress." Hayes combed his hair and nodded. "Well, confirm our findings and uncover a workaround. Alternatively, weld scrap metal if necessary. I don't give a damn how unsightly it looks as long as it works." "Practicality over beauty," Tors replied, referring to the human element in engineering. Tors smacked her palms on the table. "We need survival, not beauty. So let's concentrate on the upcoming assault because it's approaching and it's approaching fast." Before Hayes could respond, a scout rushed into the captain's tent. The incoming signal from the DRX command ship made his face pale. "They are insistent on talking to you," the scout said. Hayes and Tors exchanged a cautious glance, then they nodded. "Pass it through." A screen came to life, exposing a DRX officer with a scaled face and shimmering black armor. He appeared uninterested, but his narrowed eyes glinted with barely concealed disdain. "So this rebel's leader is Captain Hayes," the officer sneered. "Or should I call you that?" Hayes folded his arms and replied coldly, "Call me what you want, DRX." The alien's lips curled into a sneer. "You have a chance to terminate quickly, honorably. Give up now and spare your people unnecessary misery. Persist in this futile opposition and you—" "I was considering it," Hayes interrupted, cocking his head thoughtfully. "But then I remembered the last time we did this. Your guys were fleeing like terrified kids." The DRX officer's face darkened. "You're wrong if you think this is your sole warning. Your archaic artifacts can't resist the power of the Empire." Captain Hayes stepped closer, his voice dropped low, steady, and deliberate. "Here's my warning, bring everything you have because next time your troops won't be leaving." The screen flicked off, silence fell across the tent. Tors whistled softly. "You've got a death wish, don't you?" she said, turning back to the map. "I want them angry," Hayes replied. "Anger leads to mistakes." Chax rubbed his mandibles together. "And what happens when rage meets overwhelming firepower?" "They think they're the hunters," Hayes answered, voice flat, "but we're laying the groundwork." The map was dotted with markers, traps. Hours later, the defenders took up position as darkness shrouded the trenches. Only bait and decoys had been used, luring the DRX into slender valleys laced with explosives. Near the Gatling gun, now mounted on a reinforced swivel scavenged from an agricultural harvester, Tors crouched. "You think this will work?" she whispered. "We're out of options," Hayes replied. Far-off lights flashed, motors grew louder. With clenched jaw, Hayes raised his binoculars. Two siege walkers flanked an even larger unit. "That's Unit A," Tors breathed. "Mobile Command Fortress, shield generators, turrets. How in the hell are we supposed to stop that?" she asked. "We don't," Hayes answered. "We make them stop themselves." The DRX formation advanced, tighter, more cautious. The walkers fired intermittently, testing for defenses. Hayes hovered over the detonator. He waited, then muttered, "Now." A massive walker foot struck a pressure plate. Boom, the valley lit up with thunder. The DRX charged in only to find their rear cut off as rock barriers collapsed. Soldiers scrambled to reform their shattered lines. Hayes screamed.